So, thanks, Hugo, and good morning to everybody. I can see that we have more than a house full. We've got lots of people standing in the aisles and behind. Certainly, I think it's a very, very exciting time for us to have Peyush here with us. Peyush, as all of you all know, is both a star retailer and a star, both of that. Yeah, should be. Just check.
Hello. Hello. No, that one is not good.
Can you just check this mic? Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I don't know the star. I won't take the star this thing, but yeah, we have met in boardrooms for 10 years now, almost.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing has changed there.
No, that's true. Maybe nothing has changed in the boardroom, but certainly a lot has changed outside the boardroom. So I think, when we think of Lenskart, and I think the most important thing to remember is that how has a company and the people behind the company managed to actually take something as dull and drab as spectacles, eyewear as an industry, and then create it into a fashion accessory, such that people buy it not just for correcting their eyesight, but also for being able to show off how they are in terms of styling. And I think a lot of that credit for that goes to Peyush and the team that has helped to build Lenskart. So I don't want to start off with that question because then it's a long answer which will happen, but at least just a couple of things around product and around communication. How did you go about to be able to create this change in the perception?
So, hi everyone. Thanks, Bijou, for inviting me here. And just so you know, Bijou is as much a part of the team of Lenskart as anyone is. He is the one who coached us very early days how to build a retail channel. And even till date, he sits in a lot of our property approval meetings. And so, yeah. In terms of, I think we were pretty first principle guys, right? We don't come from the retail industry, and the only thing that we could do is understand that, okay, there are that many people who need vision correction, and they don't have it. And we kept asking the question why they don't have it and what can we do about it. And it was becoming clear to us that, and as I saw walking into other stores, that the first thing that a consumer does when they go to an eyewear shop is they check themselves out in the mirror. And that I felt was the aha moment for them. And then it was also in those days it had started becoming clear that people don't buy mobile phone for mobile phone, they buy it for the camera. Right? So usually it is very normal that the product, today we hardly wear shoes to protect our feet from, protecting it from dust. We wear shoes, and many of them. So it was becoming clear somewhere in our heads in those days that for so many millions of people to adopt eyewear, they will need to, the reason can be something else. Today everybody owns a phone and everybody owns a smartphone. And people will own. So I think that was the first insight, that they want to look good, and everybody wants to look good, and which is why, even today in smart glasses, so many companies have come, but they don't look good. And that's why I think they don't become successful, because people genuinely want to look good. And then the idea was that eyewear was very serious. And we always used to say that, why is it so serious? You would go in a shop, somebody will make you sit down on a table, then somebody is wearing a coat, somebody makes you fill a form. It always was like, I have already created so much friction, whereas I would go to a Zara or H&M or go to any other, they call window shopping. So why is there no window shopping in eyewear? And so I think when we looked at these patterns, we took a bold bet amongst ourselves that we have to make this, we used to say it should feel light. It should be fun and it should feel light. People should not be scared about coming in an eyewear store, and bunch of things we did together. For example, when we opened our first store, we dimmed the lights. Like instead of white light, we put yellow light. It was deliberate. And a lot of people, in fact, Bijou, you had come in one meeting and said, I don't like the yellow light, I like the white light. And we're like, but the white light makes you feel like you've come to a hospital, right? And we don't want you, and this category is connoted like that, right? It is already. So we had to do a little bit of that extra work. And we removed all the counters, and people used to say, wo chashme touch karte hai to gande ho jate hain. Like, ki gande karne do. Let them, because in clothing, when we go, we spill, hum kapde khol dete and then somebody is folding them. But if we don't allow them to try, then nobody. So I think allow people to try and then let's see what happens is kind of was the theme. And then everything sort of started falling in place. And then there was, I still remember when we launched Lenskart Gold, there was a boardroom of discussion that people will not buy 2 pairs. So it's a stupid membership that nobody, because I want to buy Amazon Prime. And we said, let's try, kya hoga? And it was like almost 80% of people who buy gold buy 2 pairs for themselves, right? So I think, I think we all want to have fun in life, and eyewear is the best thing to have,
So on that theme of fun in life, I think in terms of communication also, you've always taken a very, interesting way of communicating. You don't take a serious approach to communication. You don't talk about the quality of the lens, and you don't talk about the quality of the frame, and you don't talk about the fact that, you've got this tested and robotic manufacture and various things like that, which is very impressive when you think about making spectacles. But the approach in communication has always been about fun and fashion. And I'm not sure if Hitesh has got that video up. Hitesh, if you can just play the video.
Yeah, I don't like where you're going with
this. No, but let's listen to it. Let's see that anyway.
I am pretty sure everybody has.
Because all of them might not have seen it. That's why. Hitesh, if it's not happening, then we can get it played live.
Oh no.
Your price is $999, right?
Dollars? नहीं करण, rupees है.
I can't be seen wearing glasses under 1 lakh. Price थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो सकता है क्या?
करण, ये बढ़िया price है. It's only because we don't have middlemen.
अरे middleman के लिए funds चाहिए ना. मैं दे सकता हूँ.
Middleman चाहिए ही नहीं करण. इसलिए तो हम low price पे high quality deliver कर पाते हैं.
पक्का.
Good night करण.
90,000.
आप कहीं और से ले लो. महंगे बेचने वाले बहुत हैं.
अच्छा ना तेरा ना मेरा. 80,000.
I'm going. Bye.
अमीरों की high लगेगी तुझे. We don't want that.
Factory wale prices, no middlemen. Lenskart. Download the app.
Yes. And even if you look at what they started with in the beginning, with Katrina Kaif and all of that, what you do see, of course, there's some obsession Peyush has with Bollywood stars. That's a different issue. But the point is that he tries to make sure that there is fun in the communication.
Yeah.
And, how did that thinking come about?
See, I think we operate in this category where I've always heard, and I've gone to events. I remember there was an event I went to, and I think it was Hitesh Oberoi or Sanjeev. One of them came to me and said, "Yaar, I have a suggestion. You're doing good job, Peyush, but I have a suggestion for you. And आप कुछ अच्छी quality के भी बनाओ, right?" And I was like, "Boss, this is really, we have put our heart and soul in our pair." And because I think what they were really connoting quality. And I really wanted these people to wear our glasses. And what they were connoting quality was with price. And we had written in our vision document that, we will deliver great products at better price. So we wanted to establish the fact, and we didn't want to hide away. So the way the communication was designed, and I think thanks to the people who wrote the script, Tanmay Bhatt and all, I think the way and the brief was not that Peyush should be in the ad. I just want to clarify. I have no celebrity goals. It is only Tanmay who convinced me that if you really want to take a stand that strong and take this head on, then you have to do it. You have to do it because otherwise it will not come with authenticity. So I think the way the communication was designed was that I have to be myself and Karan has to be himself. And which is why I think it came out. And we did not hide away from the fact that we literally say what we are, right? We are affordable and yet we are high quality, and there are people, Karan Johar is exactly what a lot of the people who don't buy from us, thinking that these are lower price, he's replicating that. So it just happened. So, and we didn't think, and we didn't know that the ad would go viral. What we always try to do is push the bar in saying that if this is really what we want to communicate, let's try it out.
Good. Inflection point, if I remember right, 2013-14, when from purely online you were moving to offline too. At that point in time, it was offline too. It wasn't offline principally. And what caused you to make that shift in strategy?
So, Biju, we've been we kind of document. In fact, yesterday also, last 5 days, I've been writing for the last 1 week, 3-year vision document for Lenskart. And it takes a lot of time and thinking to write that. It is an 11-page document, which I then circulate to the entire team. And we had really written that we started to transform the vision category. And when we started purely, and in that vision category transformation, when we first started, our thought process was that the biggest reason why people are not wearing specs is because they don't have access to it. And online will give that access. And I still remember there was a slide where I had shown a road with full of traffic. That is true. But we realized that online is not fulfilling that accessibility to full. And when we look back and we saw that India is 1.2 billion people, and in those days maybe 50 million people were buying online, and we realized that, okay, this number would become 200, 300 million over a period. But then what about the 700 million people? Because our vision document said that we want to give glasses to 50% of India. It was an audacious goal. And so when we looked at that, we said that for this, stores are important, right? And they continue to look like that. Even if I sit today and I look at next 10 years, people will continue to interact across channels. The other thing which was becoming clearer is that in those days also, that when you wanted to buy an iPhone, you wanted to buy an iPhone. It didn't really matter to me whether I'm buying it on Chroma or I'm buying it at an Apple store or I'm buying it on Flipkart. So it seemed like that there is no such thing as an online customer as an offline customer. This is going to be a transitional journey. Some people will be buying online today. Some people the same people who buy online, it's not like they don't buy offline. And the same people who are buying offline doesn't mean. So I think these walls seemed like they're created by humans and by business people. But a consumer doesn't think about these walls. Consumer thinks about the product. They want an iPhone. And so that's how we said, okay, let's try, because it was becoming, I used to do a lot of this consumer survey and ask people, why are you not buying from us? Because our specs are good quality, affordable. Hame pata hai, but we want to try the pair of glasses. And while it was a non-cool thing in those days to open a store, and the omni-channel word did not exist, we felt that if this is what our vision wants us to do, then we'll do it. And one thing led to the other, and now we realize that even retail can evolve in very different ways.
So, and you kind of alluded to that point when you said it wasn't a very fashionable thing. And even today, a lot of people feel that, opening an offline store is actually a boring business, and being online is actually the sexy part of the business. How did you actually make offline retail a more sexy business than what its perception was? And let me just kind of frame it a little more. One part of it is in terms of what you famously refer to as online influenced offline business, one part. The second part of it is how do you create that seamless journey between offline and online? And the third part of it is how does the person in the store, who's an employee in the store, how do they see that customer? Do they see them as an offline customer, or do they see them as a Lenskart customer?
Yeah, so I'm usually not somebody who's very fascinated by what business is sexy, right? I'm more fascinated by the vision or impact that we want to create. And in that, I would say, yes, today being omni-channel has become sexy. It may not be tomorrow. And I think the sexy part is a dangerous part, because the best companies in India have not been created by being sexy, and they've been created on basics. I was just chatting with Aditya Ghosh a few days back, and Indigo just takes people from point A to point B on time, and it built a 50% market share business. Asian Paints just delivers you paint, a customized color. So it's not, I don't think the point is in sexiness. But yes, on omni-channel, retail as a business has not gone through as much evolution as it can. Because in online, the beauty about online is that you can do a lot of experimentation. You can measure a lot of data, and you can do A/B testing to continuously have a path of improvement. You can every day on an online business ask why people who are buying, and why people who are not buying. In retail, that was not possible. And all we have done into what people think is sexy now is started applying the same formula and lens to offline. We started measuring. Because in retail, one of the examples is that everybody looks at sales. Like CP mein, if you open a store in Bandra Linking Road, sales will be high. But that doesn't mean that store is doing well, right? Or that staff is doing well. I think these parameters and metrics were wrong. And so we applied the measurement of conversion, right? So that now people say, wow, sexy offline business. But it's not sexy. You're just putting the right metrics and you're starting measuring. Ki boss, ab CP mein store khologe or Bandra Linking mein to sales zyada hi hogi, but is it traffic to conversion is high or not? And that's how you reward people on the ground. But so that is the sexy part. In terms of omni-channel, it's very clear that, as many people would buy online, there will always be as many people who are influenced online and will shop offline. And these people will move between two buckets. Because as a consumer, there is a richness of both the experiences for different needs. If I'm going in a car, then I may shop online. If I'm shopping in a mall, and most people don't shop in a mall to shop in a mall. They shop in a mall to have fun, just like they come to a Lenskart store to have fun and they end up buying. And this journey has to become seamless because even today, I think we think that my online range is this, my offline range is this. This is cannibalizing this is cannibalizing this. This price should be this price should be this. This incentive, like if a sale happens in an offline store, it goes to the store, but the same sale happens online and then the staff will never pitch you. I think these are boundaries that we have created and they are not consumer backward. If you think from a consumer perspective, they don't think about any of this. For them, they are sitting in a store with your mobile phone app, checking you out whether you know it or not. I have tried experiments, right, where you could charge 10 rupees for a prepaid order discount on online, and people will come and say, boss, ye 10 rupees sasta hai online. And so, we can't. So I think this has to be so seamless, and seamless is very powerful because what you are interested in sitting here is that somebody said, it broke my heart a little bit, ki wo chashma Titan ka tha, but what you are interested in is that wo chashma Lenskart ka ho. अब वो ऑनलाइन खरीदे या ऑफलाइन खरीदे, हाउ डज इट मैटर टू अस? एंड द प्रॉब्लम इज द वे वी क्रिएट आवर ऑर्ग स्ट्रक्चर्स. We create that barrier for the customer ourselves. It's built by us. It's not built by the people on the ground in the retail stores. We have built, right? We tell you कि अभी ये sale तेरे को इतना credit होगा, वो उसको इतना होगा. But why, if you have a store in Bandra Linking Road, why can't all the online sales of Bandra Linking Road be credited to that store? It's whether the customer buys online or offline, they bought your product, they bought a Lenskart or they bought, whatever. So I think that is the seamlessness we need to get to, that the consumer is the same. I have met customers who call us, didn't buy on the phone, got somebody home, then went to the store, then booked an appointment on, went to online and bought. And I bought to people who have actually visited online, booked a home items, then gone bought in the store. So, the permutation combinations are limitless because consumer is not thinking that this is my journey. So I think that seamlessness is very important. Even we are not there, we have to get there.
People obsession, and you said people on the ground, and customer obsession are two of the things I've seen with Peyush over the years, where he's actually been so obsessed with saying that if a customer comes in, and we talked about friction in retail earlier, and if there is a person on the ground in the store who's a Lenskart employee, how do you make sure that both of these people are actually energized? Both the customer and the employee in the store is actually energized. The customer to buy and the employee to serve.
One problem I have not solved, but
At least on the people side, you've made a good start.
yeah, on the people, I think the challenge is as the company grows, it becomes increasingly difficult. And at scale, it becomes increasingly difficult. Over communication is always helpful on tying people back to a purpose. Helped. I remember that when we started becoming bigger, it was very important to tell everybody more repeatedly why they are coming to work every day. It is more important than we think it is. And the other thing is that, in our country, there are two levels I'll talk about. One is I've realized that leadership is absolutely the only way you can scale a business, right? And the bar at leadership has to be very high. And at least in a fast growing business, it has to be, there are a lot of assumptions we make basis what is happening in the market. And I think we have to literally raise the bar and work on first principles. And from leaders, we have to start building a culture of owners. So that, because if I am coming and sitting in a board meeting, I can't come and say ki, usne mere ko chashma nahi diya, usne mera. I think this happens a lot in organizations, right? One department will say the other department. I think at the leadership level, we have to cut this fully. And I think individual goals have to finish away, is my learning. There has to be a company goal and whole organization has to go towards the company goals. And the performance management has to be at a company level. That helps, because otherwise these channels, all of this becomes half of the problem you can solve at leadership level. And then what I realized is that coming to the ground where the rubber meets the road, whatever you do at the top will happen in the ground within 30 days. You do meetings on time in head office, people will come to stores on time. You respect people in the head office, people will respect people on the store. Right? You keep the head office clean, people will keep the stores clean. So a lot of it is culture related. People have to lead by example and people watch every action of their leaders. So leaders have to become cultural pillars. Otherwise it is very difficult to scale. And the models of compensation, incentives have to be very well thought through, because otherwise they can create a lot of non-customer. What do you want a person in the store to do? You want them to create happy customers. But they are rewarded on sales. When they want to do sales, they want to sell the highest value product, which is a problem at Lenskart also, and we're trying to solve. So I think these are things which are to ponder over as we organize. How do we build right metrics and right systems is one thing that I think aligns a lot, solves a lot of problems of scaling.
Yeah, you just talked about scale, and I think when you look at scale at Lenskart, it's grown significantly over the years. So I think this year, you're opening about 1.1 stores per day, which is 400 stores by the end of the year. Most companies aspire to do 400 stores in 5 years in many cases, and next year you're planning to open 500 stores. So, how does this scale thinking come into and permeate through the organization? Because, if you look at the entire pipeline, from sourcing properties with whatever be the success rate of sourcing properties, to building out properties, to getting people to for these stores, to training them, to making sure that you've got the right merchandise, and then opening them and promoting them, and to do that at the rate of 1.1 per day really requires scale thinking. And I think a lot of the people here are sometimes very concerned about how to think scale. So how have you gone about developing this thinking within the organization? It can't be just one person.
Yeah, I think it again goes back to first principle thinking, and of course we have made a lot of mistakes in the whole process, that we have to stop obsessing about competition, benchmarks, this whole thing about what is possible, what other retailers are doing. We have to see what is the problem and what do we need to do. And to develop scale thinking is one aspect, and then to achieve that scale is other aspect. To develop scale thinking, you have to, it's a cultural thing, largely, right? You have to think big. talk big, talk about impact, and then ask a lot of questions. Why cannot we deliver this impact? Right? A lot of people have asked, how many stores can you open in Bangalore? Right? And if somebody is saying you can open 50, you have to ask why. If you are convinced with that why, then it's okay. If you're not convinced with that why, then you need to ask what is the potential. And you need to do the top-down working and say what is the requirement, what do I need to do, and then you need to ask what will it take for me to do it, and is it really my personal internal barrier or belief, or is it really logical? If you go with logic, then a lot of things become easier. And sometimes you get criticized for it, that and not everything works with logic. But scale thinking comes with logic, that why, if I was to ask in a meeting that can you open 10,000 stores in India, you can arrive at a logical, is there a requirement? Is there TAM? Are there people? And you can arrive. Or you can say, boss, nobody else has done it, so how is it possible? So there are two schools. You have to decide what is the culture that you want to build. Now to achieve scale, one of the things that is very important is that you have to perfect first the unit economics. First, how to open one store, how do you open 50. For us, it was also a big challenge because there are a lot of precedents in the industry, right? Anybody who has opened stores at a large pace has later come and realized that it was a big mistake. At least I have met more examples of people who have
Mindlessly open.
I won't comment on that, but who seem to, in the end, the outcome has not been good. Of course, when they're opening it, they were not thinking, they were mindlessly doing it. And so that was our big inhibition, that, we don't want to be that. So what do we do? So we had to go with the first principles and say, boss, what does it require to open a store? And our biggest test was that our payback on the stores is used to be 12 months for cash. And this is when we were opening 100 stores a year. And then we took an ambition that we'll open 400 this year. And the biggest concern that came from everybody was the payback will be compromised if we do this. And we actually opened 800 stores now, 2 years in a consecutive, with less than 9 to 10 months payback, right? And what we realized is that you can solve it with science. You can solve it with data if you bring logic behind this. So for us, I think with scale, you have to perfect. There is no point scaling if the unit itself is not working.
Correct.
And then you have to replicate that using process, system, science, and the more you can put, like, what is the typical property approval meeting like, right? 5 people in a room sit, everybody has a viewpoint, none of them know. And I can tell you success rate is 50%. 50% stores do more than what you predict and 50% do lesser, so the numbers overall looks okay. But nobody knows. You can flip a coin and sign it. So if you can put science to it, so that is when we started getting into data, analytics, what data is there. And today so much data is available on internet. We today map 100 variables. And the property approval process. Before it comes in, we can with 90%, 95% accuracy predict what the store will do. So when you use the science and data, which also makes this business look sexy, and apply the same online piece, the decision making becomes logical. And when it becomes logical, you can do scale.
The world is now your stage. You've opened in Singapore, you've opened in the UAE.
For our stage to prove, not proven.
Yeah, but the opportunity is there because the problem of correction of eyesight is a worldwide problem. It's not just confined to India. The ability to be able to service the world is something that you're building out in this massive robotic plant, which is in Bhiwani. Then in terms of looking at the world and thinking of your own capabilities and Lenskart's capabilities, and then thinking about how can I get better than the rest, whoever else is a competitor in the rest of the world. And there'll be different competitors in different parts of the world. So how do you think about that? So do you, obviously you have confidence, but I think a lot of things is about the fact that if I have got the opportunity in India, why should I go out? One school of thought. Another school of thought is that if I have got world-class capabilities in India, why can't I take it out? Another school of thought. So how do you think about this?
Yeah. So firstly, like I said, we are an experimentative company. We like to take some bets and Some of them are bold bets. We do feel that myopia is a big problem, right? And at least in our category, we go back to the first principle of that myopia rates are growing very fast, especially in kids. And some of the stuff that is happening in India or even is first time. It's like mobile phone, India skipped a generation, right? We straight went to mobile. And one thing that we realized when we went around the world is that this whole fashion and the way people are adopting to vision correction in India is unique in the world. Like nowhere in the world eyewear is bought like it is getting bought in India right now. And which is good. In some ways we are first in that transformation, and it is really needed considering that there are 4.5 billion people in the world who need glasses and 2.5 don't have it. And then there was this glaring issue of Southeast Asia where myopia rate today is 80%. Right, so 8 out of 10 kids that are born have myopia. And somewhere in our vision, we kind of felt that let's try and see if we can make an impact in this market. So it was really started with that thing. Although in the boardroom it was discussed that you can sell more glasses internationally for a higher price and make more money. But then you can do that in India, it's selling at a lower price also. So I think that was the motivation, and then we tried Singapore. The inhibition was, I think like you have to solve the unit. I remember we opened a store in Singapore for almost 1 year, it was one store. And I kept going there understanding, and we opened, most people would say open it where Indian population is highest. We went all the way to East Jurong, where probably Indian population is the lowest. Because if we can't succeed, so I think the idea was to take the toughest challenge. If we can't become truly local, then we are not going to succeed. And then as we started seeing the same formula applied in terms of consumer and people obsession, keep experimenting, we made a lot of mistakes. But there came a point, I still remember in that mall, where we were doing like, we started with a $10,000-$20,000 a month sale, and the local optician, the regular traditional optician was doing $100,000 in sale. And it took us 1 year where we were doing $120,000 in sale. And then we said, okay, the formula is working, so let's scale. And we scaled Singapore, people started adopting, and now it was becoming, it became part of the vision that let's take India, Southeast Asia and some of these markets and solve the myopia problem. So we took a bold bet. We still haven't proven anything. We have a lot to do.
Great. I can see that our time is up 5 minutes plus. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll have an opportunity to be able to ask questions, but because of the fact that Peyush is here, we'll take one question. So whoever puts up their hands first, the fairer sex gets the preference. But there's nobody else from the fairer sex, except for the hair.
Hi Peyush, this is Varun from Cubuster. My entire team wears Hustler.
Oh yeah, hi, I've seen your videos on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, so my question is not related to anything retail. Just wanted to ask you something. Did Shark Tank bring any spike in your sales, or it actually doesn't do anything with the customers? Customer still believes in a lot of trial and that's my question.
Okay. So I think Shark Tank definitely allowed us to communicate some of the things which are usually difficult for brands to communicate. It put a context behind, it allowed people for the first time to know why Lenskart exists, for sure, right? Which is difficult to do in a 30-second ad or in as many events like you do like this. The reach, the time is so up that they have switched off the mic, but what we saw is that the traffic jumps, but it is all about authenticity, right? Eventually, I won't say it drove sales up. It may throw traffic up, a little bit of spike comes and you see some online consumption, but then there are always that testers, right? They want to test everybody out, and they also will have a critical view about it, and they'll have a positive view about it. So that people who go watch the movie the first day to ensure, but that whether the movie is successful after that really depends on the movie, right? Just because you had a great opening and you had advertised it, and we have seen you just went to Kapil Sharma and you attended every live TV show, doesn't make a movie successful. So to that extent, yes, it had a great opening, but then it dies very quickly.
Good. So thank you very much. I'm sorry we might not have time for any more questions. So thanks, Peyush.
Thanks,
Thank you
Bijou.
very
Thanks,
much for
everyone.
being here. And thank you very much.
Thank you very
all the
much. A
listeners.
loud round of applause for Mr. Peyush Bansal. I'll request Dr. Hitesh Bhatt, Director Marketing and Communications, Retail Association of India, to join our chairman, Mr. Bijou Kurien, in presenting a memento to Mr. Peyush Bansal. Mr. Peyush Bansal, the man with a vision to give India a vision. Thank you, Mr. Bansal. Thank you, sir. We'll have one photograph right here with all three of you. And ladies and gentlemen, just one request. Please do not get up from your seats right now to exchange cards, to take selfies. It can all be done outside, okay? We have another speaker going to begin right now. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to request our next speaker. Just remind you that we still have the spectator